When we are involved in creativity, we feel that we are living more fully than during the rest of life. Mihai Csikszentmihalyi. Greatest Happiness Project.
Hi, so today we're going to be making a moon watercolor painting, and I hope it allows you to de-stress and just take some time for yourself. Enjoy! To begin, we will need to prepare our watercolor paints. This just means that we need to add a little bit of water to each one. Next, we will start drawing the moon. Using your pencil, you want to lightly sketch out a moon, roughly in the center of your page. Be careful not to draw too hard or else you will see the pencil marks through the paint. Now we will start painting the moon. What I like to do is make two different colors for the moon. The first is a darker gold color. I make this by mixing together some yellow and a tiny bit of orange in my palette. You don't want to add too much water to this because it will lighten and dilute the color. For the second color, you want to make either a lighter version of the gold we just made or simply a very light yellow. You can do this by adding more water to whichever color you decide to make. Now for the painting, you want to paint the dark gold color on the edges of the moon. You want to avoid the middle as much as possible. I would suggest painting water inside the moon shape and then add the color. This will add a nice effect to the moon. Once you've painted the edges of the moon, I would go in with the lighter yellow and paint the center. If you've added too much paint or water in a certain area of the moon, you can always go back with some paper towel and soak it up. This will eliminate some of the pigment. I would also suggest leaving a few lighter spots in the moon as it will really make it look nicer at the end. We will now start painting the first layer of the background. To make the color, you'll want to combine some blue with a lot of water. This will lighten the blue very much, which is what we want. Now you want to paint clear water around the moon. You want to make a very abstract and organic shape. There are no rules to this. I would suggest making it a bit larger because as you build every other layer, they will get smaller and you want to still be able to see the first layer. Continue in this matter until you are happy with the first layer of the background. Next, we will prepare the next three colors for the next three layers of our background. So for the first color, you want to mix some blue and some water. We want it to be a darker shade of the blue that we just painted. Secondly, we're going to mix some blue and a tiny bit of green. The green should barely be noticeable. We want to make a lighter midnight blue or a turquoise that's more on the blue side. And lastly, we want to replicate that previous color but make it darker, which means we're going to add less water. So to paint the second layer of the background, you want to proceed the same way we did for the first. So we're going to paint a smaller abstract shape on top of the light blue with some water. Then we're going to add the color. You will notice that because we paint the water first, it allows the paint to follow the water's lead. You can make drips at this point, and you can do this by putting a lot of pressure with your paintbrush towards the bottom of the background. You can then tap the painting downwards on your table, which will allow the water to drip down. Once again, for the third layer, you will do the exact same thing that we've done before. Paint a smaller organic shape on top of the second layer with some water and then add the paint. It is important that you make sure that each layer dries properly before doing the next. And remember, for this layer, we are using our lighter version of the midnight blue that we just made. For the fourth layer, I would suggest not putting any water down because we really want this layer to be as dark as possible. After that, you can simply just paint as you would usually, making the organic shape slightly smaller than the previous layer. And remember, you can really have fun with the background because there are no rules to the shape. At this point, we are going to take a break from the background and finish up with our moon. If there are places on the moon that are too dark, like in the center, you can paint some clear water on that area and then dab it all up with some paper towel. This will actually remove some paint from that area. I like to do that in the center of the moon to make it lighter. We want the outer perimeter of the moon to be darker than the center. Continue fixing your moon until you are completely satisfied with the final result. Now for the fifth and final layer of the background, you want to make a very dark color. It is important that the painting is completely dry before starting to paint that final layer, so that the color goes on really dark. You'll want to mix together a lot of blue and some green to create a true midnight blue color. Once that is done, you want to paint that color just around the moon. You don't want there to be too much of this color, because having just a bit really brings out the moon from the whole painting. And remember, because we want this color to be very dark, we want to add as little amount of water as possible. Continue painting until you are very happy with how your background looks. And just a little tip, you can always go ahead and add drips at any point during the painting of the background, and I really think it helps make the painting so much nicer. At this point, you can use all of your leftover paint that was used to paint the background to create splatters on your painting. You don't have to do this, but I do think that it brings the whole picture together. You'll want to dip your paintbrush in the color and using your finger fling the liquid paint off the paintbrush and onto the paper. It should create a splatter effect. You can also just tap the paintbrush to release the paint, but I prefer the other method. This next step is completely optional, but I think that it brings the painting to a whole other level. You'll want to do the same thing we just did with the watercolor paint, but with some white acrylic paint. This will make it look like stars in the night sky. If you are uncomfortable using that method, you can simply use a very fine paintbrush and lightly paint ever so tiny dots on the paper. The final step is to sign your painting at the bottom right corner of the page. So this is the final product of our painting. I hope you had fun following this video, and thank you for watching.
Happiness is not something ready-made. It comes from your own actions. By Dalai Lama.